cheat to be a winner. You don't have to steal to get it done. You don't have to lie and call me brother. Sometimes I think I just about had enough. Another war begins in South Africa. Oh my God. Another night of shambles, guns and knives. And the reason why it's so easy to discover is them diamonds in the ground worth more than my life. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, people make me cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. Oh, been there. Sometimes I think, take my life too serious. Yes, there are many things I still don't understand. But you can't say for me that I am not curious. And it would make me happy when we all make a stand. Yes. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. Sometimes I think I take my life too serious. Yes, there are many things I still don't understand. But you can't say for me that I am not curious. And it would make me happy when we all make a stand. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. I'll tell you why. Because you don't have to cheat to be a winner. No, no. You don't have to steal to get enough. You cannot take my life away and still call me brother. Sometimes I think I just about had enough. What? You take my home, you take my pride, you still want to use me. Oh, you're cutting my inside out like a knife. You cannot take it all away and still abuse me. It's them diamonds in the crown worth more than my life. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. You don't have to steal to get it done. You don't have to lie and call me brother. Sometimes I think I just about had enough. Another war begins in South Africa. Oh my God. Another night of shambles, guns and knives. And the reason why it's so easy to discover is them diamonds in the ground worth more than my life. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, people make me cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. Oh, been there. Sometimes I think, take my life too serious. Yes, there are many things I still don't understand. But you can't say for me that I am not curious. And it would make me happy when we all make a stand. Yes. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. Sometimes I think I take my life too serious. Yes, there are many things I still don't understand. But you can't say for me that I am not curious. And it would make me happy when we all make a stand. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. I'll tell you why. Because you don't have to cheat to be a winner. No, no. You don't have to steal to get enough. You cannot take my life away and still call me brother. Sometimes I think I just about had enough. What? You take my home, you take my pride, you still want to use me? Oh, you're cutting my inside out like a knife. You cannot take it all away and still abuse me. It's them diamonds in the ground worth more than my life. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me. People make me cry. Sometimes when I'm alone, how I cry. People make me sad. Some people in this world, they make me sad. Oh, I don't me down there.
People make me sad. David Michael Rudder. That calypso is called Africa. People make me sad. People make me cry. But we keep on moving on. Good evening to you. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to Politics 101 on a Tuesday evening. Good evening, wherever you are. In Guyana, outside of Guyana, welcome to Politics 101 on a Tuesday night. I want to dedicate tonight's program to a very good friend of mine who died recently and is going to be buried tomorrow. Every one of us know her in Buxton as Kitty Bob James. She's one of two persons who always remind me that I'm an African chief. Don Cush and Kitty. Once Kitty see my car passing or walking and going to she stand, Uhuru, Chief Uhuru. She has always reminded me these last, I think I've been an African chief now for the last 6 years, I think, 7 years. I think so. I think it was 2018 or 2019. But Kitty and Don Cush are the ones who always remind me. I forget that I'm an African chief of Guyana, and Kitty, whose stand that she sell everything is just in front of Tipperary Hall. Very good friend of mine, really strong supporter. We all grew up together, and one thing with Kitty, she always with a book. She sit down and she stands selling, and she always with a book reading. I dedicate tonight's show to her, and because she's one of those persons who her name would not be written in books and so forth, but people like myself draw strength all the time from people like that. You see them and you know that their heart is in the struggle. And they don't have to say anything to you. You just see them and you know you got to continue doing this thing. So Kitty, walk good. Walk good. The ancestors, I'm sure, have found work for you. There in ancestral land. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. Dr. Jeffrey should have been here tonight, but he has Wi-Fi problems. And so we'll have to switch him to later, but we have lots to talk about. Lots are happening, and we continue to do what we do. Good evening to you, Marlon Blair. David Michael Rudder. As part of the prophetic tradition, there is what we call the black prophetic tradition. You know, when Dr. King, the night before he was slain, he gave that speech, the mountaintop speech, and he said, you know, tonight I'm fearing no man, because I've been to the mountaintop and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but you, my people, will get there. Less than 24 hours later, he was gunned down. And that is why 40 years later, when Barack Obama was voted in as the president of the United States, so many of us cried. Jesse Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, Colin Powell, so many of us cried. So many of you cried. Because it was the fulfillment of the prophecy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The Black prophetic tradition. Marcus Garvey prophesies that a king will rise in the East. An African king will rise in the East. He wrote a play. He performed in the play also. And in the play, he prophesies that an African king will rise in the East. And so in 1930, when His Majesty Haile Selassie, whose real name was Ras Tafari, when he was coronated, some beautiful souls on the island of Jamaica hailed the coronation as the prophecy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And thus was born the Rastafari movement, 1930. The movement that has been the most forward-looking Afrocentric movement of the 20th and the 21st century. All of us today are Rastas in one way or the other. The way we wear our hair, the food we eat, the music we listen to. Reggae music is Rasta music. Rasta music. The prophecy of Marcus Garvey. The Black prophetic tradition, David Rudder, is them diamonds in the ground more valuable than my life? Is the oil at the bottom of the ocean that our leaders and our elites have become so drunk with? Is that oil more valuable than Adriana Young's life? Than the life of Kian Fajane or Ronaldo? Or Quindon Bacchus, or all the brothers and sisters who've been gone down? Is that oil more valuable than my life? Sometimes I take my life too seriously, but one thing you can say about us is that we are not curious. The prophetic words of David Michael Rudder, not singing about Guyana decades ago, but singing about Guyana. The Black prophetic tradition. You want to stab me and still call me brother. You want to kill me and still say that I should and I am part of one Guyana. David Michael Rudder. The Black prophetic tradition. We have to be a people of prophecy. You know, they say everything for David is race and black people. And I am not stopping until black people are accorded their rightful place in Guyana, because they are the pillars of Guyana. And I'm not taking that back. They are the pillars of Guyana. If Guyana falls, it's because that pillar is pulled away. And I'm not stopping until they respect the black man, the black woman, and the black child in Guyana. And they will. The Black prophetic tradition. We are called upon to teach and to learn. I know I offend a critical mass of Indian people because, you know, they want us to shut up and allow the Indian government to govern. I know I offend some nicey black people. But that's what it's about. It's about disturbing our neighbors. We do what we have to do because we have to do what we have to do. Until the black man, the black woman, and the black child is accorded its rightful place in Guyana, only then will there be one Guyana. They want a one Guyana with the African at the bottom of the ladder. It ain't happening. I heard one of the opposition leaders say, we can't build Guyana with one race. You don't have to teach me that. I learned that since I was a boy. But we can't build Guyana without the black race, without the East Indian ethnicity, without the Amerindians. We can't build Guyana with one race, but we cannot build Guyana with any of the races being left out, especially the African. I'm not into cliches. I'm into righteousness and truth. We do what we have to do and we continue what we have to do. And they tell us that we are preaching sermons and racial sermons, and We don't have one supporter, and the PPP will win with a landslide at the next election. But we have truth and righteousness on our side, and that is why we continue to do what we are doing. Comrades, sisters, and brothers, sometimes you measure the effectiveness of what you are doing not just by what you think about what you're doing, but by what also by what your detractors think about what you're doing. Thank God. Thank God for the wisdom of our people. Thank God for the instincts of our people. They told us just a few weeks ago, the PPP will win by a landslide, 66%. But when our people began to walk, just by walking, standing up erect as men and women of dignity, we turn the tables and we continue to turn the tables. We continue to turn the tables. Claude McKay says, if he must die, then let it not be like hogs hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while rounders bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our course lot. If he must die, then let us nobly die, that even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us. Some people may say that I'm mad, they call me all kind of names. They call the WPA all kind of names. Quarter party, 2-man, 3-man, But we, as Martin Carter says, we the people, we are the world's hope. We are the world's hope. We are Guyana's hope. We the people, especially the dung-pressed, we are Guyana's hope. And so, the Moutilax, the Moutaprepre, the Moutapreke, and all of them are now coming to realize the seriousness of our times, the seriousness of our message, and that our people are not damn fools who they can tie rope round the neck and drag them back into slavery. Talk to me, because I am talking to you. At some point, we know that it would dawn on them that these are serious times.
And it seems that once they don't trust the choices of the government, they're going to milk that. How does the government react? The government reacts by saying, you want the FBI. This is the world's leading investigating agency. The United States Embassy will be the convener, the facilitator, because the US ambassador say, if asked, we will facilitate. And I think the room
for making mischief by the opposition is narrowed, and the room for the government getting an opportunity, right, to debunk the gossip is large. So I would think, as I started by saying, the only reason why I think the government has not gone the FBI route is they're thinking about the credibility of the police force. That the RCMP man came here and he works with the police force. Why should we dismiss that? Why should we just dismiss this man who was 30 years in the RCMP because they want the FBI? How long are we going to keep pandering to these requests? I think that is the thought. But at the end of the day, the government is strategically stronger if it brings in the FBI. That's how I see it.
I can't disagree with you on that. And for me, I am not so much enamored with the opposition's posturing and argument. But one has to admit that when you walk these streets where Irfan Ali does not walk, where Barrett Jagdeo does not walk, where Robeson Ben does not walk.
You're hearing?
When I walk the street, I walk the streets by Demico. I walk the streets of Georgetown. And the opposition has won or is winning the information war with respect to this case.
Stop there. I walk the same places and I hear the same things you hear. So the government must get the feedback there.
So the government is literally on the back foot where this is concerned. And so I am saying I am not concerned about the opposition. I am concerned about the people, what the people believe, what the people think. And that is where those are the people who determine where an election swing, left or right, either towards the government or towards the opposition, or in some cases where people were indecisive, it can strengthen their resolve or whatever the case is. But the bulk of what you're hearing is not in the government's favor. And because of that, I believe the government should respond to what people think. Not so much what the opposition think, but the opposition, because the ground was so fertile for suspicions, and then the opposition took a lead on that and is fueling that fire. The population, and this is not, I am not just talking about government stronghold, all right? I am talking about a broad range of Guyanese, of all races and walks of life, just believe that the government should acquiesce to that one request. And the word that comes to mind is tone deaf. It appears as if the government is not picking up on these tones. And those of us who support the government and are reading the tea leaves are saying to this government that we support follow the instinct of the people. Follow the instinct of the people. And in this case, we believe that it is leading in the direction of bringing a government agency, one or two investigators, and let bring back some confidence public confidence in this matter. While that is happening also, the government must take mitigating measures against the police force losing its own morale.
And me says, sir, and the Chinese says, sir, he said, Wang Pongling, he said, Ching Chai, and me says, sir, and the Chinese says, sir, he said, Wang Pongling, ding like, Ching Pongling. Let me say so. Them two by that. Last month was saying the government gonna win with 90%. Black people going in droves to the PPP. Look, if this story was not so serious, me laugh till me belly bust. Let's figure out what those chaps are saying. There's some contradiction there. Oh, it's not the opposition. I'm not going about the opposition. I think about the people. But the opposition is winning the information war. There's some contradiction. And that's what happens when you're trying to fit the truth into a lie. The lie is the PPP. So what my brother Leno is doing there, he knows the truth. He knows that the opposition is on the right side of history and that the PPP is on the wrong side of history. He knows that this Adriana case is going to lead, once they're free and fair elections, to the PPP losing the election. He's basically saying that. He's saying that the government is tone deaf. But the government didn't get deaf yesterday, Ledo. The government being deaf. That's why some of us are surprised that you are there. What are you doing there? The tone deaf didn't start when Adriana dead. And that is why when I lashed out a couple of months ago, it's the contradiction. That's what Leonard Craig's analysis is on spot. His observation is on spot. But he has to say, I'm not concerned about the opposition. It's the people. Well, the people, according to you in front of them, is opposition supporters. It's not government supporters. You yourself saying it, Leno. That is not government stronghold you're talking about. You're talking about in front of them, These are the people they were hoping to tie rope around the neck, put on red jersey from them, and call them crossover votes. It has now all evaporated. And even, well, Leonard Craig is sober. The other chap is drunk. But even that drunk man also admitting that he does walk the same place and hear the same thing. Comrades, brothers and sisters, every long rope gets an end. We always knew what their plan was. We always knew that they were wrong. But so long as people were quiet, going about their business, they convinced themselves that they were right. Once people come on the road, the trigger for people to come on the road was that unfortunate death of that child. But once that child death awoke the nation, in particular, the African nation, That's it. They can't. Leno, you can't put it back in the bottle. It's over. It's over. It's over, Leno. You all can't put it back in the bottle. You all were trying to separate them people in front of Demico from people like me. But what Adriana did is, in spite of people like me and Aubrey Norton and the other leaders, in spite of what Adriana's demise has done, is that they have brought the nation, the African nation, back together. Now, they've also brought up other opposition people who are not part of the African nation together. Sometimes, we in the African community, especially activists, and a lot of us are activists here, sometimes we get so frustrated that we get off with sophisticated blaseness that people are not on the move. Even last night, Brother Rickford was saying he wants to see more from the people. I understand. I'm not knocking Rickford, because Rickford is a hard worker. But sometimes we, the leaders, have to realize we do not have the license to direct struggle. We don't. I made a conscious decision to get into active politics at age 14 when I heard Walter Rodney for the first time. And he said a simple thing. He said, history is made not just by leaders, but by ordinary people. And that someday somebody will record that we were in this schoolroom talking about how to change the world. That fired my 14-year-old imagination. I run home, asked my auntie if I could join the thing. She said, if Teacher Sydney is part of it, you can join. The rest of history. And we, the leaders, sometimes have to know when to step back and know when to step forward. And in fairness to my brethren, in fairness to Brother Rickford, it's difficult sometimes to realize the enormity of the present when you are part of the present. We are part of a tsunami. Just listen to Leno Craig, who's a PPP man. Listen to Freddie Kisuna, PPP man, and you understand the enormity of these last couple of weeks. They have moved from saying the government is the best thing since sliced bread, that Orphan Ali goes around and he listens to people, to now saying the government is tone deaf. They have gone from saying that the PPP will win by a landslide majority to saying that the PPP must now listen to the people. When I'm young people, they say, what more you want from we blood? The people have spoken. And the other side understand the enormity of it. Let's just get on with our game. Stop trying to be obeah men and women. Stop trying to be, we got to beat our people. No. Reality is not just what you think of yourself, but also what other people think about you. You listen to those chaps. They're basically saying, these are the government is winning the information, the opposition is winning the information war. Anami says so. Anami says sir, I know we're winning the information war. You see, in 1964, they passed the Civil Rights Act in America. And 1965, they passed the Voting Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act brought African Americans into the Constitution via the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment said all Americans have due process before the law and have equal protection before the law. The equal protection clause, perhaps the most important clause in the American Constitution, the 14th Amendment. And what Jim Crow did was to bar African Americans from enjoying the rights that were accorded by the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment itself was an upgrade on the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights did not include black people because black people were slaves. So what the 14th Amendment did was to bring black people into the Bill of Rights. But then Jim Crow barred them. So it took the Civil Rights Act to bring black people into the 14th Amendment and by extension into the Bill of Rights, and by extension making them now full constitutional citizens of America. And then the Voting Rights Act of 65 brought black people into the 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment is the amendment of the Constitution that ended slavery. And not ended slavery, sorry, that was the 13th Amendment. The 15th Amendment gave all Americans the right to vote. And that was blocked by Jim Crow. So what the Voting Rights Act did was to bring black people into the 15th Amendment and therefore now into the Constitution as full electors. And when they asked Stokely Carmichael about the 14th and 15th Amendment, insinuating that, not the 14th, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, sorry. And they asked Stokely Carmichael, they said, oh, well, you don't have laws that bring black people as full citizens. Stokely looked them in the face. And he said, no, the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act is not for black people. It's for white people. We black people always knew we were equal citizens. It's white people who didn't think we were equal. And so that 14th, that Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act is for them, not for we. We always knew we were equal citizens. We always knew we were equal beings. And I want to use Stokely to say to Leno, what happened in the last month is for you. Because it's you all who thought that black people were stupid. It's you all who thought that you could tie black people with rope around the neck and lead them to the PPP. It's you all who thought that black people were going into droves and vote for the PPP. It's you all who thought that our finale is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So what black people did, the development since Adrian is that it's not for us. We always knew that we were not stupid. It's you all who think we were stupid. And so what has happened over there is for you all. It's for Jack Dio. It's for the PPP. It's they who thought that black people were stupid and docile and dormant. We always knew that our people were not stupid, are not stupid. We always knew that our people would not take blows forever. We always knew that. So the developments of the last couple of weeks is not for we. We've been there, done that many times. What has happened in the last couple of weeks? We did it from the middle passage, before the middle passage, across the middle passage, on the plantation, after the plantation. We've been there, done that many times. Right? So what has happened the last couple of weeks is not for us. We knew we are always human beings. Yes, some of you were a little bit frustrated that, oh, black people and standing up, black people this, black people that. Then, I understand the origins of that frustration. I myself sometimes got frustrated, but never frustrated to the point that believed that our people were just, you. All it takes is for me to play a calypso on this program and then repeat the words from the calypso. I notice you are repeating the word there before me tonight. The two words, LB. I noticed my friend Mark now call it licky licky. All we have to do is to play a kaiso and repeat those words. And the stupidities think that they're doing some great harm to me by taking it and putting it in front of the Chronicle and spend 3 weeks persecuting me for playing a kaiso and using the word lick bottom Africans from the kaiso. And what they did was to make my day. There will be no more lick bottoms. If we had others who were lining up to go and lick, after that episode, over, game over. Game over. You'll notice it's only one of them running up and down, up and down, up and down. One of them. One of them. We took care of that. All we had to do is to play kaiso. Play kaiso. And because they don't understand the power of communication in popular language, they thought they were doing me something wrong. I don't mean nothing wrong. They help my cause, our cause. Game over. And then over the last couple of weeks, after the state, and do not separate the police from the government. The police is the government, and the government is the police. Don't separate them. Keep them, they're Siamese twins. Once the government went there and began to cover up that girl's death, game over. They can't put the genie in the bottle. The government is on the back foot. The government doesn't have any foot left. And you don't go from being the greatest government we ever had to being a tone-deaf government, to being on the back foot. You don't go from one to the other in a day. The government was always tone-deaf. Always. The government was always on the back foot. So, sisters and brothers, and Nami says so. Nami says so. Is they say so. And they're correct. They're correct. If this government knows, as it must know, that its power hangs in the balance, and if it is innocent, it would do everything. It would come out and say, look, we know how that child there. Don't worry, no man from Canada, man from FBI, man from this. The government knows how that child met or death. You don't need no. All they're trying to do is to bring the white people in to cover up for them. So they're cover for the police, their police. Now they want the white people to come in and cover for them. But they know how the child met or death. They don't need the FBI to come in. What they're fearful of is that when the FBI come in and the FBI open the can of worms, is what will come out. Y'all remember, during the recount, they wanted a recount to prove that they won. And they agreed to open the boxes. And when they opened the boxes, all the drumbees, all the PPPs, rigging drumbees jump out. But they got away with it because the international community had already made up their mind that they were putting them in office. They get away with that. And they know not to bring the FBI and the Scotland Yard and the Canadians. They know not to bring them because it's another opening of the box, or the 60 they're playing with. Once them FBI people come and open the box, open them boxes, all them drumbeat, all the spirits from them 400 boys that have gone down to Waddle, to Crummy Wing, to Quindon Bacchus, to Boston, to Headley, to the Linden Tree, and now all of them spirit gonna come out. And drumbeat just frighten people. They don't want, that is why they don't want to bring the FBI. It's not just Adriana's secret murder that will jump out. It's all the other murders. They're smart enough to know that. And they know they don't need no white man to come and tell them who killed the girl. They know. This government does anything. Guyana is perhaps the most spying country in the world. Probably only the Israelis must be ahead of us in terms of spying on the nation. They know who killed that child. But what they're fearful is what is going to come out when the white people come. And that is why they went to the family and tried to do the number that they've done to all the other families, which was to quiet them down. And if you remember, initially, the father said, we want no violence, calm down, and so on. And it looked as though somebody got to him and said, shut up. That's not your business about what happens on the road. Your business is to press for justice for your child. And once the father came to that realization, game over. Game over. What they always think is that they can buy people. And they got away with it because they've bought a few of us. But the vast majority of us will not be bought. And so, yes, Leno, Craig, you are right. The government is tone deaf, and it is tone deaf not because it wants to be tone deaf. It is tone deaf because it has always been tone deaf. And it is tone deaf on this issue because its survival is based on this thing going away. But the thing will not go away. They felt that when they lock up those 100 boys and more, that would be the end of justice for Adriana movement. They felt that when they jailed that little Norse girl, that would be the end of the justice for Adriana movement. They feel that when they lock up baby Skello, they will get black people to do the number. And you hear some of our well-intentioned black people that some of our people so want to hear themselves sounding reasonable. As I keep saying, we've been partying and dancing to sexually laced music from creation. Last night I got through a whole set of Kwekwe song, sexually laced, sexually tinged. Sexually tinged. It is part of our popular culture. You examine popular culture in any society. More than half of it is based on sex. Because sex is very much part of popular life. All of a sudden, people are enraged because a little boy sing about sex. When sex, they're all over. Kwekwe, which is our African Guyanese foundation folk music, it's about sex. We all have sex. We all talk about sex. We all make jokes about sex. Yet this boy sing a song about sex. And I hear some intelligent people. I'm forgetting about PPP people. I'm talking about black people. Even them were saying the boy should not be locked up, but I condemn his lyrics. If you condemn his lyrics, you have to condemn a whole set, a whole swath of our popular music. The Kwekwe genre is about sex. Kwekwe is about a man and a woman getting married, and the society advising them about how they must conduct a marriage, and they do so using the lens of sex. So it's the hypocrisy that gets me crazy, you know. And like I said, I'm not focused on the PPP. They will do anything to survive. I'm not focusing on the Indian people. They're following the party, but black middle class people have to stop it. You go to any party, and 75% of the music they play is about sex. Whether it's soul music, reggae music, calypso music, is about sex. And black people, you all need to stop it. Stop condemning that boy for singing about sex. He used the imagery of the Indian woman. He used the word Lakshmi. But the imagery is not about the goddess. He's singing about sex with an Indian woman. That's what the song is about. And our singers have been singing about sex with black women from time immemorial. And you all were not enraged by it. As soon as he sing about sex with an Indian woman, you all are using religion in order to say he's talking about blasphemy. He's being blasphemous. He's singing about sex with an Indian woman, and he's using the imagery of the goddess. Vybz Kartel is not singing about sex with Jesus. He said it's sex sweet like Jesus. All of a sudden, we become holier than thou. Stop it, you all, stop it. Stop it. Be there singing, trust and obey, for there is no other way. but to be happy with Jesus if we trust and obey. And what we to sing? Trust and don't pay. Trust and don't pay, but to be happy with Jesus if we trust and don't pay. What is this thing about making fun of religion? It's been there from creation. So you all black people, stop this stupidness about Skello music, blasphemous and thing. Skello only begin for sing, no, but bad sex yet. It's there. Yes, one can make a gendered critique of our popular music, that the sex in the music is swayed more to women than men. A gendered critique. And the female singers are taking care of that now, because they're turning the table and singing but man. Calypso Rose sing but Solomon. Solomon use a blasted louse. Solomon, you don't mind your children. Solomon, get out of the house. Use a blasted louse. Our female singers are taking care of the gender imbalance of the music. Tanya Stevens and them younger female singers, reggae singer, I sing, but man, they turn back the sex on men. Yes, you can make a gendered critique, but this moralistic thing, black people, you all stop it. I'm teaching you all tonight, and I'm taking the license because I've studied popular music. I teach it. There's no disgrace in singing about sex. We all we say. I talked about teacher Mildred last night. And the lizard run up your foot and it disappeared. And all of we kick, and we dancing. All the middle class people just wind up. Mildred, teacher Mildred. All that this thing is doing is taking the prude and sexualizing her. The middle-aged woman who never had a man. And that's all Sparrow is doing. He's turning that middle-aged woman who never had a man, or people never see she with a man, he's turning her into a sex symbol like every other woman. And you all know we discuss women who want to get man and who want to get children. We discuss them in society. What Sparrow did with teacher Mildred is to bring that woman sexually on par with other women. We have to understand our own culture before we go running after we want to please Indian people. And Indian people know them chutney soca people who can sing but sex more bad than them. Who can sing but sex more bad than them? Anyhow, things are happening. The tables are turning. And we have to strengthen ourselves. Stop believing we are weak. Listen to them too, especially Leno Craig. It's an admittance. It's an admittance that the government is now in trouble. For the PPP to win an election, they have to make sure that black people are disillusioned. They have to make sure that black people are down in the doldrums so that they would stay home and don't vote. And every one of us that stay home and don't vote, and every Indian that goes out and vote, is an extra vote for the PPP. The PPP, no, they're not on no crossover, nothing. We have never had crossover vote in the history of this country. In 1957, the first election after the split, the PPP juggernaut, they got a good 20% of the African vote. It wasn't crossover. There were Africans who were always in the PPP, and when Mr. Burnham left, he didn't carry all the African leadership. And so in 1957, people were still feeling the way. But once we got out of the 1957 election, and also in 57, there were Indians, some of them who voted for Barnumite PNC, or PPP, sorry. There wasn't about crossover. But once we left 1957, what crossover? What crossover? African people do not want to be governed by Indians. Indians don't want to be governed by Africans. And the quicker we put that in our pipe and smoke it, the better we will be as a country. Indian people want to be governed by Indian people. Black people want to be governed by black people. And Amerindians are quickly getting to the point where they will want to be governed by their own. They're getting there. And what we have to do is to craft a governance structure to accommodate that truth. If people don't want you to govern them, and you're saying them a crossover, what you're trying to do is to herd them, tie them around the neck like slave, and drag them over to you. That's all you're doing by talking about crossover. And that is it, inhumane treatment. And I am not going to stand by. And so many of us in the black community, the black leadership, will not stand by and allow black people to be herded. And even if some black people want to go, those who are go will feel the wrath of the ancestors. Yes, a man has street, a woman has street. You dress up in a jersey and give you $40,000, she gonna put on the jersey. But I tell you, when you see she go home and take the jersey off, she costs subtle. My aunt worked as a maid, one of her many jobs. She worked as a maid in some Portuguese people kitchen. They were nice people. They were nice to her. They were nice to us as children. But she was very conscious of that she was doing it. And she would say to us, I don't go to school. Even if I wear one panty, I don't go to school because I not go work in no Portuguese kitchen. She was very, very clear that she was into a transactional relationship so that she can get money to raise us. But she knew that she did not want to be there. And over time, she phased herself out of that job. In addition to selling black pudding, she started selling guinea and dongs and this and that, and phased herself out of that working in Portuguese kitchen. So I understand those young women and men who are putting on the jersey. They're not doing it because that's where their belief and head is. They're doing it for survival. I grew up in a household seeing that when me auntie done working at Portuguese kitchen, she's gone with Miss Green and them led in the women's auxiliary, which was the women's arm of the PNC. That job, the experience, drove her into politics. As she used to say, all she had was a fifth standard education, sorry. But she was conscious enough. And our people are conscious. What people like us do is that we help to lift them. We help to give them the confidence. And the PPP knows that. That is why the PPP will never bank their power on black people vote. They will never blank their power on black policemen and black soldiers. They will never. What they will do is try to contain them, allow them to become corrupt as a way of containing them. Because when they become corrupt, you know, get something on them. And you tell them, go shoot David Hines. They will go shoot it. So what the PPP is doing, the PPP is not banking on black people for their power. Maybe some of the black leaders are banking their power on Indians. Maybe. But the PPP is much smarter than that. And so when the PPP saw in the last couple of weeks the upsurge in consciousness, the upsurge in manifest consciousness, not just a consciousness that in people's head, a consciousness that now starts to manifest itself on the road. And there's so many dimensions of that consciousness, that manifestation. It is the coming together of the various subclasses in the African community. The urban poor. And the urban poor has always been the political nightmare of the PPP. They've always been their political nightmare. The urban poor, the black urban poor. Because the black urban poor run the urban center. That's their stronghold. And whoever wants to operate in that black urban center, they have to deal with the black urban working class. What you all calling scrapehead and all kind of fancy name. That class has always been the PPP's nightmare. That is why they all them up and throw 100 of them in jail. It is as if they're sending a warning to the others. And we are now reliably informed that half of them 100 and how much they get in jail are so-called civics, so-called PPP hangers-on. So we have them on the back foot. I agree with you, Leno Craig. Does it mean that I am saying that we're going to win an election tomorrow? That's not what I'm saying. We got to work. We got to turn this upsurge into electoral capital. So the work ain't done. We have to turn this upsurge into political and electoral capital. That is why I ain't condemning nobody. I'm not condemning anybody. Because it's those people, those boys' mothers, we got to vote. Then by daddy, we got to vote. And when we get power, we have to ensure that urban and by extension rural poor African male, that we come up with policies to pull them from the edge. Because the whole scraping thing is that they're scraping a living. Every day go by a holding on. Every day go by a holding on. That's their life. And we have never, as a society, since Burnham, attempted to grapple with that phenomenon of the black urban male. When Burnham came up with the national service which he borrowed from Tanzania and other places, when he implemented national service, it became an outlet for that black urban poor. And the PPP get rid of it because they want that urban poor not to be liberated. And what they've done is that they've used money to try to control that black urban poor. And so that night when they saw the country lit up, they realized that that's it. The gamble has not paid off. The gambler and they lose. Boo. Because they don't understand the phenomenon that they're dealing with. In the same way, just as the nightmare of the PPP is the black urban youth, the nightmare of us in the opposition is the rural Indian male. The rural Indian male who does burn the cane, who does chase police and beat them, who does block roads. It's the urban Indian male is our nightmare. Just as the rural Indian male is our nightmare, and the urban African male is the PPP nightmare. And both sides. The problem with the PPP is that there is now an Indian urban male that is Africanized. Listen to the music that they just listen to. They listen to more black scale, more baby scale music than black people. That Indian urban male that is being Africanized. And it's going to come back to bite the people. It is that urban black, that urban Indian, semi-urban Indian male Azadin Mohammed is a product of that. And that is coming back to bite their ass. Whereas the African urban male is impoverished. The Indian urban male got paisa, get money. And Azadin is a manifestation of that Indian urban male. This society is changing. And some of our analysts who write every day, some of them are my friends, but they don't take time to study our society. They don't take time to study our society. And so therefore they come to this wrong conclusion. The electoral instinct of the black community, whether it's the working class, the impoverished black youth, the black middle class, meaning the new black middle class, not the old black middle class, the new black middle class, the young teachers, the young professionals, the young entrepreneurs. They're all speaking one language, one electoral language, and that's coalition. And that is why I think some of our brother leaders are out of step. The old middle class is out of step. Those so-called scrapers, you think they put in the belly pan plimpla for any minority government? You think they put in the belly pan plimpla for any minority government? You think those teachers answer the call for better wages for 72 days to go and vote for any minority PPP government? I think some of our black brothers, black middle class leaders are so out of touch, somewhat tone deaf, because they're hearing themselves. There are a lot of young people who are frustrated with us. They're frustrated with Aubrey. They're frustrated with Nigel. They're frustrated with me. They're frustrated with Halloween. That is a reality. But that frustration does not mean that they don't want to see us in power. We are taking frustration with Aubrey to mean that Aubrey is not electable. One of my biggest supporters, he just called himself me bushman, me interior representative. And he called me with a long voice note today. He said, Dr. Hines, I read your manifesto yesterday, and you don't get nothing there for bushman? You don't get nothing there for land? And he's right. No, embedded in our policy is something for bushman and something for agriculture and something for land. But he wants to see it explicit. And he's critiquing me. I am his leader. He just sent me a voice note every night after my program. But he's critiquing me. He's saying, Dr. Hines, what happened with you dropping back? I watch your manifesto. I read your manifesto. You don't get nothing in there. No land, nothing for land, nothing for bushman. And he's right. It is not explicit. It is implicit, which means that he is teaching us how to write a manifesto in this time. Manifestos now have to be a more popular document than it used to be. He wants to see himself there. The support that he's given me and the WPA, he wants to see it in a policy for him and the people in his group. Does that mean that he feels that I am not electable? No, he's critical of me as his leader. People are critical of Aubrey. But that doesn't mean that Aubrey is not electable. People are critical of Nigel. Does that mean that Nigel is not electable? We are mixing up people's critique of their leaders and taking it to a level that, well, because people are critical of a leader, the leader not electable. No, man. Now you can't sell me that. That's pig in bag. That's pig in bag. So, sisters and brothers, we are at a critical period. And you all got to help us to make some decision. I started by saying this program tonight is dedicated to my friend Kitty Bob James, Kitty Roseman, one of two people, she and Dan Kush. They always remind me of my African chief name. Even me just forget that it's African chief. Chief Uhuru. And that name Uhuru was given to me. That name Uhuru was given to me after I made a speech when some African chiefs were in the country. And they gave me, and Uhuru means freedom and independence. They hear one speech from me, one speech, and the man come across to me. They didn't plan for make me a chief. They already had a lineup of people who they were coronating with chief. I made one speech at the Prairie. And the title of my speech was that we never left Africa. Although we were physically all the way from Africa, we never left Africa. And you're in Buxton, and you are in Africa. And the rest is history. After the speech, they decide that they're going to coronate me as a chief. And they give me the name Uhuru, which means independence and freedom. Incidentally, one of the first books I read on Africa as a young man is a book called Not Yet Uhuru, written by Ojinga Odinga, who along with Jomo Kenyatta were the two foremost leaders of the Kenyan independence movement. Ojinga was Luo, Kenyatta was Kikuyu, and today their sons are the leaders of the two main parties, so they've carried on the tradition. But that was perhaps my first book on Africa that I read, Not Yet Uhuru. Why I am referencing Uhuru, freedom and independence. WPA and the PNC will resume coalition talks in the coming weeks. And we in the WPA are going to approach those talks on three interrelated plans: fraternalism, independence, and realism. Fraternalism, that we are all brothers and sisters in this struggle together. We are family. We are fraternal people. We're not enemies. Independence, that yes, we are going in this thing together, but we must maintain our independence of thought and action. Independence of thought and action. Even though we are fraternal, we are not bowing down to each other. We are maintaining our independence. So independence and fraternalism. The Marxists, they say, talk about the dialectics, the equal of opposites. So fraternalism suggests chumminess, independence suggests autonomy. And you bring them together. And the third plank of our praxis to those talks coming up is realism. All that realism means is that we have to face reality. Aubrey Norton and David Hines and Nigel Hughes will capture the interest of 200,000 African voters. But Aubrey Norton belongs to a party to which the vast majority of those 200,000 voters identify with primarily. Primarily means first. They identify with AFC and WPA. They identify with Nigel and Guyana. And I put in myself in there. And I put in the WPA in there, although the pollsters don't poll WPA. And they know damn well why they don't. Because it will upset. It will upset their conclusions about what the elections are. But I put in WPA in there. All three of us will touch the hearts of Africans. But the African heart will reach first for the PNC, or the majority of them would reach first for the PNC. That's the reality. And you can't wish that away. On what ground am I going to tell Aubrey, well, Aubrey, by the vast majority of them with you, but I gotta get the thing. Why? Because what? I tell more than you? Eh? Why? Why? I come from Boxing and you come from Linden? Why? What am I going to tell Aubrey? Me suit does fit me nicer than you suit? What? Realism. If a poll shows the WPA with 6%, 7% of the vote, I would jump to the sky. And I'm sure that there is a poll, there are polls which are going to show that. So, fraternalism, independence, nobody don't tell the WPA what to do. Then they put repolling. And realism. I will serve any day on the Norton or on the Hughes. I don't have a problem. I'm not that insecure. I'm very secure. We in the WP are very secure that we can serve under any one of them. They may not want to serve under us. That's their business. But we are secure enough to serve under them. We are moving on. Then by say, the PPP on the back foot. Then by say, the opposition has won and is winning the information war. Then by say, the PPP is tone deaf. Congratulations, Leno. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Because we have always overcome. Nothing can stop us now. We are moving forward. There's work to be done. Our people have given us something to work with, and we have to work it.